Hello, hello, hello. My name is not Ignacy Trzewiczek. This, however, is Ignacy Trzewiczek. Well, actually, this isn't. This is just a board game designed by Ignacy Trzewiczek. See, Ignacy is tall, thin, and handsome, and I'm just not. But we do have one thing in common, and that is a love for two-player asymmetrical games. And this is exactly what Stronghold is. And it's not just any upstart, upcoming game. This is the second edition, which promises to be sweeter and crisper. All the things that are hoisin duck. And this is a game, one of the very few games about actually sieging a castle. And there's all that's going on in here. You are just sieging a castle. And you're either on one side if you're defending, or the other if you're attacking. And only one of you is going to come out a winner. In Stronghold 2nd Edition, you're going to be playing either as the orcs who are sieging the castle, or the humans who are defending the castle. And you might say, Efka, that's a little bit dry, isn't it? Well, you know what? I don't think Stronghold needs a very strong theme, because all the game is about is actually sieging the castle, and that's the important thing. It can be very abstract for all I care, because, well, the fun is in the fact that you are just doing this. That's where the core gameplay is, and I think that a stronger theme would actually undermine that. But most importantly, at the start of your turn as an orc, which is very orderly because you have the sequence of cards and you're going to be executing them in order. You can skip one of them if you want to, but there's no switching back and forth. And the first thing you do is you draw out of this bag some of the most amazing orc miniatures ever made for a board game. Look, aren't they lustrous, these tiny, tiny cubes? I can't emphasize how tiny these cubes are. You see, that's one of my main gripes, actually, about Stronghold. And I know this is a bit early on in the video, but the problem is that they could have been bigger. I understand that logistically, you know, there's a lot that you need to fit on the board. But nothing says that these cubes can't be a little bit bigger, because they're very fiddly to handle. However, having said that, I love this whole bag drawing mechanic. You see, every orc you draw is either a goblin, which is a white cube, or an orc, which is a green cube, or a troll, which is a red cube. And everything has color-coded values in this game. So anything that's white is strength 1, anything that's green is strength 2, and anything that's red is strength 3. And you see, Stronghold is all about the numbers. It's pitching a higher number at a certain location against your opponent and seeing who wins. At the start of any orc player's turn, you always do one thing. You dip into your bag for 14 cubes and get a little bit of wood, like in any good board game, because you're quite excited. But what's cool about this bag is that once you dip your hand into there and pull something out, you never know what you're going to get. But even if it's something utterly rubbish like that, where most of your cubes are white, you're not really that disappointed, because now you know there's less white cubes in this bag, and the next time you're going to dip into it, you're going to get something a lot better. And that's the thing about Stronghold. It's strangely fair to everyone involved, even though it's completely asymmetrical. Because you see, every time as an orc player you decide to do an action, like you decide to build this ballista, for example, you need to spend some wood, and here you go, you have some, and also you need to spend some units because they need to go and build the damn thing. But the cool thing about it is that depending on how many units you spend on doing something, that's how many time tokens the opposing player is going to get. And you'll notice that if you spend red units, you need to spend less of them than white. So it's very, very nice and balanced. But what the hell are these time tokens? See, Stronghold is a little bit like a game of rock, paper, scissors, except it's not quite rock, paper, scissors. It's more like rock, paper, scissors, lizard, spock, mantilus, ballista, catapult, cannon, soldiers, archers, traps, ladders, goblins, orcs, cauldrons, and spells, all involved, and everything's good against everything, and nothing is good against anything, really. It's all about matching the right tactic against what your opponent is doing. Let's have a look here. Well, see, whenever I get these time tokens, that's the key thing here that I want to explain. I can put them on one of my buildings and do a thing. And once I put enough time tokens, I can actually do the thing. So right here, for example, I've built a goblin cauldron, and I've placed it here because I see that a bunch of goblins are coming, and whenever they're going to get here and an attack is going to commence, the goblin cauldron is going to kill all of them. And the trick is, wherever you are as the orc player, you get to go into two different directions. So they could actually not go here and avoid the goblin cauldron and come here. And then once they're in this rampart, they're going to have the option of splitting up into these two options. See, but I have thought about this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to spend my 2 time tokens and build a trap. And traps are awesome because you can place them along the road. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to place a goblin trap, which will kill all the goblins along the way. So now, even if they come here, they die by the goblin cauldron. And if they come here, they die from the goblin trap. I win, I think. And that's what excites me about every game of Stronghold. The amazing plethora of options you can build. Ladders, you can issue orders, you can sabotage the other player's actions, and as a defender you can build cannons and bay windows and things that reach out with forks and kill opposing units. And you can build, as an orc player, you can build mantlets so archers can't fire at that specific section. And you have heroes that move along the walls, and when they're very, very needed, they kind of just jump into that area and strongly reinforce it because they don't take up space that regular units do, and therefore there's more things you can plonk down in that one area. It's all really cool, and most importantly, you get ballistas and trebuchets and catapults, and these are great. For example, when you place them, you have to make this deck, and the deck consists of 4 miss and 2 hit cards, and every time you fire, you just draw the top card of this pre-shuffled deck, and if it is a miss just like that, then you simply discard it and it doesn't go back into this deck. However, if you draw a hit, one of these, then the hit gets shuffled back into the deck, making your catapult a lot stronger. And catapults do cool things. They can take out wall sections, which add 1 strength to this particular area. And everything in this game adds up, and it's all about figuring out how to counter your opponent's strategy. But you can't quite do it because you don't ever know what your opponent's strategy is. You have to guess what they're trying to do and then counter that. And if you're struggling for options in terms of what these cards offer, you can always swap them out as well. Every time you start your turn, you can just take one card out and add another one. And that's kind of cool. It always makes sure that you have something useful and relevant to do, because if you have absolutely no use for mantlets right now, because you've either built them or there's no archers that you're really scared of, you can just take the mantlet card out and add some bloodstones, which will make your siege machines more accurate as time goes along. That's cool, but the most cool thing about Stronghold is when you actually reach the end of your turn, because no matter how you choose the cards, the last card is always movement and orders, and this is where you get to move all your little bits along closer to the walls and see what happens. So for every rampart and foreground, you get to move those guys forward. So from every rampart, guys move closer towards walls, and for every foreground, your guys move into the ramparts, and you're just watching as your opponent gets more scared because they start to actually realize what's descending upon them. You see, when you're analyzing the board, you're kind of analyzing in terms of what you've got here, and you know that the enemy troops are going to come and descend, but you never quite, because there's so many things to calculate, you never quite anticipate just how bad it's going to be if you are the defending player. And then we go to these orders, which are really, really clever. See, you can either play one for order face up, or give your opponent a time token and place all 5 face down, and these do some really cool things. Like, for example, this Fury of Goblins, which turns every goblin into a troll effectively, and their strength becomes free, but then they die at the end of the turn. But a successful Fury of Goblins order token might actually win you the game, because all you need to do is breach a single wall section, and that's it. as the orc player, you've won. Which makes the job of the defending player really hard. You see, the thing about defending is that one slip-up will cost you the game. And it will cost you the game because of the mistake that you've made. And you know always that you've never lost because of bad luck or, you know, chance or random things. You lost because you miscalculated. And there is a little bit of luck in Stronghold, because if there wouldn't be, then all it'd be is two people sitting down across the board and doing maths. 5 plus 7 plus 4 plus 6 plus 2 plus 3 minus 7 plus 9. Right, okay. What did you get? But Stronghold can get a little bit mathy, especially towards the later rounds of the game. Whilst the first 3 or 4 rounds are going to blitz through very quickly, you're going to feel like on the 5th, 6th and 7th last round, you're going to be sitting down and doing a lot of calculating. And that doesn't feel as exciting, as fast-paced as you might want it to be. And you can certainly forego the calculating. See, the way you play Stronghold, it largely depends on you and your opponent, because you ideally will be playing this game with the same person. Sure, you can play it with someone else and just, you know, go to a club and randomly find a person and say, hey, do you want to play this game? That's a 2-player versus competitive game that I've played a lot of times and know really well how to play, and possibly you haven't. And there are some ideal situations, obviously, where everyone at your club might be playing Stronghold, but really, you want to play this with the same person over and over again. And if you have that person, if you think you'll enjoy Stronghold together, there's a lot to experience, because each time you play, you are going to be developing your own metagame. You're going to be figuring out what's good against them, what are their weak spots, and what strategies you might want to employ, and then you'll learn which strategies are better or worse, what works, what doesn't. And oh my god, I can just imagine playing Stronghold, you know, on a weekly basis with someone and really sinking my teeth into this game and figuring out all the intricacies. But if that doesn't sound like it's appealing to you, or if you don't have that one person that you might play this game for quite a while with, then I'm not sure Stronghold is the right game for you. Sure, if you only ever want to play this a couple of times, you will enjoy your time with Stronghold, but you'll always feel like you haven't mastered the game, and there's quite a lot to master. The one thing that we haven't talked about yet in this video is the rulebook, and that is the slightly unfortunate bit. See, as I mentioned, this Stronghold is a 2nd edition, and one of the promises of the 2nd edition was that it would work on the rulebook, which was very unclear and had a lot of ambiguity in the 1st edition. Now, the promise was that the rulebook was going to get a lot better and a lot more streamlined, and in comparison, it is a much better rulebook, but unfortunately, I know that they tried and worked really hard, but this isn't the most perfect thing. And thankfully, it's not so much of a problem, because Rodney Smith of Watch It Play has done an absolutely excellent video that teaches you exactly how to play the game, and you can find the video in the link below. And it really explained this game to us very well. And then all you need is only this little paper brochure thing that tells you exactly what each action does. And what you get at the end is a really enjoyable 2-player head-on experience, if that is the sort of thing that you are looking for. See, Stronghold is a bit like a war game, except it's not, because it's kind of like a card game, but it really isn't a card game because it's a board game. Look, none of that really matters, because what's important is that if you're looking for a 2-player competitive experience like X-Wing, like Netrunner, the card game, but are looking for something more board gamey, then this is exactly it. You will enjoy plumbing the depths of Stronghold for many hours, and me and Herbert certainly did. And most importantly, Stronghold 1st edition had an undead expansion, and hopefully that gets updated into a 2nd edition as well. I know that Herbert specifically is really excited about that. So on the whole, if you like 2-player competitive games, Stronghold is a very strong recommendation from us.